And I don't want to cause any controversy, so I won't say no names. But this motherfucker Donald Trump, I can't stand. So, before we get into this next song, Ready, we would like to request something of you. When I say you say Trump. When I say you say Trump.
That wasn't a concert, that was a battleground. And while Eminem only needed one word to ignite an arena, Joy Reid needed just one to set Donald Trump's entire world on fire. Deport, not just any deportation, his wife, his son, even his legacy. If he wants to deport immigrants, why not start with Melania? And just like that, Trump didn't just lose his cool, he lost control of the narrative. This video features real statements and public commentary. Now what if the rules Donald Trump wrote came back to haunt his own house?
If we ever get a Democratic president, they could say, I don't like Melania Trump. She wasn't born here. She was born in Slovenia. She is a naturalized citizen. She's out of here.
Donald Trump says he wants to deport immigrants. He talks tough about loyalty to America and threatens to strip citizenship from people he doesn't like. But what happens when that same logic circles back to his own wife? Joy didn't just challenge his policy, she flipped it. And when you flip Trump's rulebook, the first name on the deportation list might be Melania.
And by the way, Ivana Trump, the late Ivana Trump, who's buried in the golf course in New Jersey in Donald Trump's golf club, she wasn't an American citizen, and 3 of her children are Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka. And maybe the next Democratic president says, you know what, I don't like the Trumps. And so we're going to denaturalize all of the Trump children whose mother was a foreigner at the time.
But Melania's just the beginning, because once you open the door to deporting naturalized citizens, it doesn't stop with spouses. It reaches the golf course in New Jersey, where Ivana Trump is buried. She wasn't a US citizen either. And her 3 kids? They're only here because someone chose not to ask questions. And how about Barron?
That's exactly right. And I think that, you're asking for a level of logic from these Republican Congress members that they just don't have. It's turned into a cult party.
Because if one president can revoke your citizenship out of personal dislike, then the next one can do it for political revenge. And when that becomes precedent, what's left isn't law. It's a purge. That's not policy. That's cult logic in a government costume. So when citizenship becomes a weapon, it's only a matter of time before someone pulls the trigger. And guess who just fired back, in public, with a microphone? Stick around. Maxine Waters just made it personal.
If he wants to start looking so closely to find those who were born here and their parents were undocumented, maybe he ought to first look at Melania. We don't know whether or not her parents were documented. And maybe we'd better just take a look.
Trump wants to check everyone's paperwork? Maxine Waters says, fine, let's start with the model he married. Because once you turn citizenship into a loyalty test, even the First Lady isn't off limits.
So you could go on and on and on. This opens a huge door, Congresswoman, because that means that any future president can decide that they don't like the Trumps and don't want them here and want Melania gone, and they could just denaturalize and deport her and she'd be out of here.
And that's the trap. Trump wants the power to strip away citizenship, not through courts, but through preference. Not because you broke the law, but because he just doesn't like you. But if that power ever swings the other way, if one day a president decides he doesn't like the Trumps, well, by his own logic, Melania's suitcase is already packed. Because once you turn identity into a weapon, you can't control where it points next. We've heard the laws, we've seen the loopholes. Now watch what happens when the mic drops into the wrong hands. Enter Eminem, and he's not here to negotiate. And if you think that was bold, just wait till the beat drops.
That's an awfully hot coffee pot. Should I drop it on Donald Trump? Probably not, but that's all I got till I come up with a solid Better give Obama props, cause what we got in office now's a kamikaze that'll probably cause a nuclear holocaust. And while the drama pops and he waits for shit to quiet down, he'll just gas his plane up and fly around till the bombing stops.
But this wasn't just about Trump's ego. It was about the chaos he creates and the damage he leaves for everyone else to clean up. Because while Trump fuels the drama, he always finds a way to fly above the flames.
Intensity's heightened, tensions are rising. Trump, when it comes to giving a shit, you're stingy as I am. Except when it comes to having the balls to go against me, you hide them. Cause you don't got the nuts like an empty asylum. Racism's the only thing he's fantastic for. Cause that's how he gets his rocks off and he's orange. Then says he wants to lower our taxes. Then who's gonna pay for his extravagant trips back and forth with his fam to his golf resorts and his mansions? Same shit that he...
Trump talks about draining the swamp, but Eminem just gave us a tour of the whole sewer system. From stoking racial fires, to ducking real leadership, to hiding behind family ties while ICE tears other families apart, this isn't just about politics anymore. It's about who gets deported and who gets to fly back and forth between mansions. On taxpayer denial, and in case it wasn't clear, Eminem's not afraid to say it out loud. This isn't just a takedown, it's a buildup of truth. Subscribe, and let's keep digging.
That's why he wants us to disband, cause he cannot withstand the fact we're not afraid of Trump walking on eggshells. I came to stomp. That's why he keeps screaming, drain the swamp, cause he's in quicksand. Plus he gets an enormous reaction when he attacks the NFL, so we focus on that and instead of talking Puerto Rico with gun reform for Nevada, all these horrible tragedies, and he's bored and would rather cause a Twitter storm with the Packers.
While families are being ripped apart, while ICE raids neighborhoods and citizenship gets politicized, Trump's out here picking fights with football players and hashtags. Because outrage is easier to manage than accountability. And if you're too busy watching the noise, you'll miss the policies destroying lives underneath it. Eminem didn't just call it out, he crushed the whole playbook.
And any fan of mine who's a supporter of his, I'm drawing in the sand a line. You're either for or against. And if you can't decide who you like more and you're split on who you should stand beside, I'll do it for you with this. You.
My name is Seth, and I'm here to say, if you like Trump, then go away.
You know it's serious when the punchline becomes a picket line. Eminem isn't just drawing a moral boundary, he's daring his audience to cross it. And when late-night hosts start singing the same tune, that's not entertainment. That's a culture shift. Because at some point, this isn't just about Trump anymore. It's about what and who we're willing to tolerate.
And everybody's talking about this. Last night at the BET Awards, Eminem did a 4-minute freestyle rap criticizing Trump. Of course, the president isn't just going to ignore something like that. So today, Trump clapped back with a freestyle rap of his own. It's a clap back. Check this out.
Boom, 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 boom. Knock, knock. Bum, bum, bum. China. Beep, 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 beep. Bum, bum. Bing, bong. Ba, ba, ba.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Jimmy didn't need a monologue. He just hit play and let the absurdity speak for itself. While Eminem was dissecting systemic racism and corruption, Trump gave us Bing Bing Bum Bum China. If that's the counter-argument, no wonder the culture's already chosen sides.
I mean, Trump was mad.
Was he really?
Trump was mad, but he was also a little confused. Today, he told people to boycott the Eminem store. And you go, no, that's good. Reese's Pieces are the best. They should have their own store.
Eminem didn't just drop a verse, he drew a line. This isn't just beef, it's a battle for truth, and he's not backing down. Not today. Not under a dictator in a red tie. And just when you thought the punchlines had peaked, we took a closer look at how Melania even got here.
Instead of waiting in line like everybody else, in 2001, while she was dating Donald Trump, she received a so-called Einstein visa. Possibly. Because when she told her friends she was dating Donald Trump, they said, "Way to go, Einstein."
While immigrants line up with paperwork and prayers, Melania showed up with a swimsuit and walked away with an Einstein visa. That's right, Einstein, because apparently being Donald Trump's girlfriend qualifies as an extraordinary talent now. Call it genius, or just green card by association. And for the record, Einstein fled Nazis. Melania fled the runway straight into the White House.
Now, these visas are reserved for a small percentage of individuals that have risen to the very top of their field. And in Melania's case, her biggest job at the time was a spot in the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated. Jimmy, let's take a look at that. Well, there she is, Melania Trump. Well, obviously, she was ahead of her time. She beat Shape of Water by a decade. Fun fact, Albert Einstein got his green card with a very similar photo shoot.
These visas are meant for Nobel laureates, tech pioneers, world-class athletes, not swimsuit models posing for Sports Illustrated, but Melania? She made the cut. Or rather, cut the line. Apparently, a bikini shoot now qualifies as exceptional ability. Forget peer-reviewed journals. Just bring a spray tan and a backdrop. And if Einstein did get his visa the same way, well, that man was smarter than we thought.
Born in Slovenia, Melania moved to the United States to pursue a modeling career and became a U.S. citizen in 2006 after marrying Donald Trump. She later sponsored her parents, Victor and Amalia Knavs, for green cards.
From Slovenia to the White House runway, Melania's American dream came gift-wrapped, complete with an Einstein visa, a gold-plated husband, and eventually, 2 green cards for her parents. Because nothing says merit-based immigration like marrying a billionaire and fast-tracking mom and dad while your husband builds a wall for everyone else. Turns out, the real ladder to citizenship wasn't hard work. It was high heels and a Trump surname.
This week, it got even worse when Melania liked a tweet calling Trump a hypocrite on his immigration policies titled, "How exactly did Melania Trump get an Einstein visa?" Yes, Melania may be questioning her own citizenship. Relations between her and Donald have gotten so bad, she's hoping ICE will intervene. First off, your husband is being sued by porn star Stormy Daniels, who claims she had an affair with him and then he paid her $130,000 in hush money. What's your reaction?
Stephen, I told you before, I don't care about this woman's slimy manholes. My Donald is as loyal as the golden retriever he buys his hair from.
It's never a good sign when your wife likes a tweet questioning your entire immigration stance and her own visa. At that point, it's not just politics, it's personal and possibly legal. Melania liking that tweet wasn't just a swipe at hypocrisy. It was a subtle cry for help. When your marriage gets so bad you start rooting for ICE to show up, it might be time to pack more than just your bags. And while Donald was busy paying hush money to Stormy Daniels, Melania was busy buying loyalty from a golden retriever wig, because nothing says stable marriage like shared lawyers and separate bedrooms.
Your husband has a long history of opposing immigration, both legal and illegal, yet he hires immigrants to work at his hotels, and he's married to immigrants.
Well, you know what they say, immigrants, we do the jobs Americans don't want.
Trump has spent years raging against immigrants, legal, illegal, imaginary, and yet every time you walk into one of his hotels, it feels like an international job fair. The irony? His strongest anti-immigration stance was delivered while spooning an immigrant. And Melania? She's the ultimate proof of his two-faced policy. Because in Trump's America, immigrants are a threat unless they serve cocktails, clean hotel rooms, or marry into the family. As Stephen said, immigrants, we do the jobs Americans don't want. Like pretending to love Donald Trump.
But isn't it, don't you think in any way that it's hypocritical that his wife got to stay in the country with an EB-1 visa, the so-called Einstein visa?
Not at all, Stephen. I know physics. E equals mc squared. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second. It's always 420 somewhere.
What? Wait a second. I thought the visa you received was for modeling.
Oh, no. My extraordinary ability is staying married to Donald Trump. I'm staying as long as I can.
So, in the end, what exactly was Melania's extraordinary ability? Modeling, diplomacy, fluent silence? Nope. According to her, it's surviving Donald Trump. Because nothing screams Einstein-level talent quite like enduring golden toilets, golf tantrums, and Stormy Daniels scandals, all without blinking. That's not immigration fraud. That's emotional gymnastics.
We have a crime problem, a violent crime problem in many American cities. Some of these crimes are being committed by illegal immigrants, but not all of them. And I don't care whether it's an illegal immigrant or a lawful immigrant or a citizen or somebody whose ancestors came over on the Mayflower. I want violent criminals put away to keep our cities safe.
They say it's about safety. But when even conservative commentators admit they don't care whether it's an illegal immigrant, a lawful immigrant, or someone whose ancestors came over on the Mayflower, as long as it's a violent criminal, you know the line is clear. Punish the crime, not the citizenship. Because once you cross into the territory of revoking someone's citizenship just because you don't like their politics, or their marriage, or their accent, you're not defending the country. You're rewriting who gets to belong.
This idea that in some far-flung universe, Democrats, after Trump's actions, would have the bright idea to pursue legal charges against Trump is something, I'm just saying, many Republicans will find ridiculous. They'll say that already happened. So there's the escalation you have in mind has already occurred, and now it's our turn to escalate things, which I think is a bad tendency.
So now it's tit for tat, but with passports. Trump threatens to denaturalize his critics. The left jokes about deporting Melania. And somewhere in the middle, the idea of citizenship gets reduced to a punchline in a partisan war. As The Hill pointed out, some Republicans already see this as a green light. The escalation has already occurred, and now it's our turn. If this is what law and order looks like, maybe the real crime is how casually both sides are now playing God with people's citizenship. Citizenship used to be sacred. Now it's a game of revenge. And when both parties start weaponizing passports like Twitter threads, the real loser isn't Trump. It's the definition of who belongs. And while Melania was busy securing citizenship through stilettos and silence, her husband was drafting executive orders like wedding vows quick, sweeping, and with questionable consent.
Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it. In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation.
Trump returned to office like a man on a mission, or a man with a grudge. Nearly 100 executive orders in 6 weeks. One of them, ending birthright citizenship. Because apparently, the best way to restore common sense is to rewrite the Constitution with a Sharpie.
In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums.
And of course, no Trump speech is complete without his signature cocktail: fear, fiction, and a sprinkle of xenophobia. According to him, under Biden, every illegal crossing includes murderers, drug dealers, and patients straight out of Arkham Asylum. Subtlety? Never heard of her.
Republican, this idea of denaturalization, right? Because my mother was a naturalized American as well. If you give the president of the United States monarchical-like powers to say, I don't like your views, I don't like your take on issues, I don't like that you're too liberal, you're not conservative enough, I'm just going to take away your naturalized citizenship.
And here's where it stops being about borders and starts being about power. If a president can revoke your citizenship just because you're too liberal, then we're not guarding democracy. We're crowning a king.
Even though they are a cult party, the American people are not. And even, people who voted for Trump, as you pointed out, with the Venezuelans, with the Cubans, immigrants who voted for Trump and thought that he was just talking about the worst of the worst, right? Because that's what he said. Remember, the worst of the worst. That's what he was going to go after. They are realizing that he lied.
So now the mask is off. The war on immigration was never just about border control. It was about voter control, cultural control, and anyone who disagrees with me control. Even immigrants who once cheered for him are realizing the worst of the worst might just be the man holding the microphone. And as the smoke clears from executive orders and Twitter tirades, one thing becomes painfully obvious. This isn't immigration reform. It's identity warfare, waged from behind a golden podium.
What I was hearing even from there is that people are terrified because they see that their businesses are being raided, that these folks are, that Trump is coming after workers who have never done anything wrong, who have been living here for 20 years. And they're standing outside restaurants. They're standing on street corners. It's driving the economy down. It's kicking small businesses out.
Just when you thought it was about bad hombres, Trump started raiding restaurants. Now it's cooks, cleaners, and shopkeepers, people who've lived here for decades, getting targeted. The man who promised jobs is chasing away the people doing them. Turns out, making America great again means scaring the folks who made it livable.
We have to recognize is that anytime you have a dictator or an authoritarian, they go after the most vulnerable population first. And part of it is to see, what does society do? How does society react? Will they allow us to get away with this? And then they start going for the next group and the next group and the next group.
That's how it starts. Not with tanks, but with paperwork. Not with a dictator's fist, but with a finger pointed at the dishwasher. First, it's the immigrants. Then, the journalists. Then, the judges. And by the time they come for you, there's no one left to tweet about it. When citizenship becomes a weapon, no one is safe. What Trump is doing, going after immigrants, threatening to revoke citizenship, demanding loyalty over law, is textbook authoritarianism. As Jayapal put it, dictators always start with the most vulnerable. Not because they're the ultimate target, but because they're the easiest test. If the public stays silent, the list grows longer. The danger isn't just the tyrant, it's the silence around him. History shows us this again and again. When we ignore injustice just because it doesn't hit us yet, we're giving it permission to grow. Today it's illegals, tomorrow it's journalists, the next day it's your neighbor or you. Freedom isn't lost all at once. It's chipped away, group by group, while good people stay quiet. And if you thought this was bad, wait till you see what Trump's former lawyer just revealed in court. Spoiler alert, it involves yachts, burner phones, and one very nervous Mar-a-Lago butler. His video is for commentary and educational purposes. It includes satirical analysis and fair use excerpts from public broadcasts, protected under Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act. All opinions expressed are part of a broader media critique and political commentary. We do not endorse hate speech, harassment, or discrimination against any individual or group. If you're offended by jokes, facts, or the combination of both, take a deep breath, maybe even two. Then feel free to disagree in the comments respectfully.